Republicans are outraged, but for all the wrong reasons. This past Friday, $5 billion was automatically slashed from SNAP, the food stamp program, affecting the lives of 47 million Americans. The U.S. Department of Agriculture, the USDA, estimates that because of these cuts, a family of 4 who receives food stamp benefits will lose about 20 meals per month. But these enormous cuts to food stamps are not enough for the Republicans. They want to slash an additional $40 billion from the program in the name of reducing spending and federal debt. Republicans love to argue that programs like SNAP and other social safety net programs put an unfair burden on American taxpayers. But if they just took a minute to crunch the numbers, they'd realize that that's flat out wrong. In 2012, the average American taxpayer making $50,000 a year paid just $36 toward the food stamp program. That's 10 cents a day. That's less than the cost of a gumball. But Republicans think that's still too high a price to pay to help the neediest and most vulnerable Americans. And when it comes to funding other welfare programs, the average American taxpayer making $50,000 a year pays just over $6 a year. Simply put, the American taxpayer isn't paying much into social safety net programs like food stamps and welfare. But we are paying a lot for the billions of dollars that the U.S. government gives to corporate America every year. The average American family pays a staggering $60,000 a year, $6,000 a year in subsidies to Republican-friendly big businesses. And that's just the average family. Family making more than $50,000 a year, say $70,000 a year, pays even more to pad the wallets of corporate America. So where does some of that $6,000 that you and I are paying every year actually go? For starters, $870 of it goes to direct subsidies and grants to corporations. That's like the government writing checks to big businesses. This includes money for subsidies to big oil companies that are polluting our skies and fueling global climate change and global warming. Compare that to the $36 that you and I pay for the food stamp program every year. An additional $870 goes to corporate tax subsidies. The Tax Foundation has found that special tax provisions of corporations cost taxpayers over $100 billion a year, roughly $870 per family. But in reality, that number is even higher. Citizens for Tax Justice found that the U.S. Treasury lost $181 billion in corporate tax subsidies, which means the average American family could be putting out as much as $1,600 a year just for that piece of the corporate welfare pie. Finally, of the $6,000 in corporate subsidies that the average American family each year pays, $1,231 of it goes to make up for revenue losses from corporate tax havens. This is Mitt Romney and the Caymans, right? This money goes to recouping losses from giant transnational corporations like Apple and GE and smaller companies like Bain Financial or Mitt Romney himself that hide their money overseas to boost profits and avoid paying taxes to help the American economy. The bottom line here is that American families are paying $6,000 or more every year to subsidize giant transnational corporations, which are already making billions and billions of dollars in profit every year. In the past decade alone, corporations have doubled their profits. Republicans on Capitol Hill keep suggesting that we can't afford to help the poor in this country. And they're wrong. What we really can't afford is doling out $100 billion every year in welfare to corporations that don't need it. That's where the real outrage and the real news coverage should be. It's time to bring an end to corporate welfare and to use those dollars to help those Americans who need it the most.